kids kind of get settled there. Just a second. Gracie, over to that sound box back home. Just a minute, wait for a second before you go over and share. I'd ask Kim, we kind of brought it up the other night. So for a couple we were talking about sharing your story. And how important it is that you acknowledge where God's brought you from and how you tell people that. Some of the greatest victories we've experienced in this church came after days where people just shared, just completely open and honest with the church about their life and about how everything God had brought them through. And I challenged, asked her, I said, have you ever shared I knew the answer to that. I said, have you ever shared your story at church? I knew the answer. I just wanted to put the monkey on her shoulder, right? She said no, but she was willing. She said, when? I said, Sunday at church. A lot of times people like to talk about, what year, what month, and I deal with that. And I think she made some videos to kind of help prepare herself, and then it's kind of tough to get in front of people, right? She's still going to be in front of all of you, but here just a minute she's going to share on the screen just a real look into her life. Now, you know a little bit about Miss Kim probably if you know her. She's going to share things with you that I'm pretty confident you probably didn't know. And it's tough to share those things, but at the same time, I think it does two things when you share with the people in the church about what God's done in your life. It helps you to heal and get over the past, but it also helps somebody else know that maybe the future that God has for them doesn't have to be like what yesterday looked like. So, Chris, you got the sound on, you want to click, and Miss Kim's going to share with you some of her story.
To tell my story of how God has restored and redeemed my life. I've wrote it down on paper because I'm a nervous wreck, but also because I want to be as transparent as I can to tell my whole story. Don't worry, I won't be here all day, but to tell my whole story of how God has delivered me. Ever since Pastor B's asked me to do this, the devil has been on me. Like, there's no need in telling your story now because you know you're going to mess up sooner or later. But I don't believe that. And I'm here to keep the devil in the hind end. Let him know that what he used to try to destroy me, God has used to deliver me and redeem me. And that as long as I keep my eye on the Lord, my Savior Jesus Christ, that I'll be all right, that He'll guide my path, and His will will be done for my life, and His plan that He had that I neglected to follow for so long will be done. A lot of you know a little bit about my story. I'm a recovering addict. A little bit of the backstory of how I became an addict is I had a lot of pain from my childhood that I never knew how to deal with. It all just festered up inside, and a lot of it had to do with I didn't have a father. He lived in Evan, Kentucky. I lived in Tompkinsville, but he never came to come see me. At age of 18, I went and hunted him down and tried to get a relationship with him. He was fine when I got there, but he never really went to his afterwards. I went a couple more times and just seen that was just not going to work out. My mom, she was a single parent of 3 kids, but my grandma raised me mostly because my mom thought that the man she was with was more important than me or my two brothers. My grandma was an excellent woman. She showed me the love and nurture that I didn't get from my mother. But I still look for that longing, that love and acceptance from my mom. And that has always been with me. I always felt on the inside of like I wasn't hungry enough. I had a lot of addiction in my family, pills. They weren't selling it, and they definitely a lot were doing it. Not all of my family members, but most of my family members. So I always said that would never be me. But then, at the age of 25, I had a slight back problem or something. I was at my mom's, and I was talking about my back hurting. And she said, "Here, take these. This will help." Mind you, my mom wasn't one of those that was an addict to pills. She had them because she went to the doctor, and she would sell them. And so at the time I thought nothing of it. So, and then I got to like a woman. Of course, anytime I needed them, I just went to her. And then I started going to the doctor. And the more I got, the more I took. And then the more I needed, she was always there to give me. And to the point to where I had to have them. I had to have them to get up the next day to function. I had to have them to be around anymore. And at that time, I was battling a lot of things on the inside of me, but I didn't know how to express it. But at that point, it had to turn into anger. And then one day, I was working at a job to where I was completely out of pain pills when I went in. And I was dragging, I was sick, and the job I was doing at that time was cleaning cabins, and it was me and another lady, me and someone else were cleaning them alone. And I was not doing my part, I can guarantee you that. And she knew about my addiction with pills, and I had shared them with her a couple of times. And she said, "I've got something, but it ain't pills that make you feel some better." And that was the first time I tried methamphetamines. And that was when the destruction of addiction that I was already in became 10 times worse. It became so bad that I was lying, cheating, stealing. That was when the anger began to fester in me. Because then I knew I had a problem. I didn't know how to get rid of that problem, but I knew I had one. And I was scared because those drugs had become a lifestyle for me. And a lifestyle without them was scary. And I would say, I would hear other people talking about this, using needles and shooting up and everything. And I said, if I ever get to that point, then please, somebody, get me help. But see, I was around the people that were doing that, so they weren't going to get me help. They didn't want to admit they needed help. So what happens, I started using them. And everything became times 10. I used all these drugs because it numbed that pain and that hurt that I felt from my childhood, that neglect I felt from my mother. And she never chose me. And I knew right from wrong at the age I started drugs, but she seen what it done and how it took a life of its own with everyone in her, with a lot of their family. So why in the world would she do that to me? You know, a lot of people say it's just mistakes. Make mistakes I make, but mistakes are accidents. Yes, make mistakes I make, but mistakes are accidents. You know, you don't mean to do. These were poor choices that I made. So, that anger just built up. My heart was hard. I hated everything, everyone. I hated myself, so how could I love anyone else? In the midst of all that, I cussed God. I hated him. Why would he let this happen to me? Why couldn't I have a moment and a daddy that loved me, was there for me? Just all kind of excuses. It built my anger, and when I did those drugs, it numbed it all. I didn't worry about it because I hated them even more when I was on drugs. And even during all this cussing and hating God, he saved me. He saved me. Because one night, I was on my way home from Tompkinsville, which is where I stayed because that's where everything I needed was at that time, the drugs, the ones I knew how to get them. And I was living up everything in my system. And I remember coming the back way and turning off every bridge. And I remember no more. I remember no more because I blacked out. See, I had a God that was so loving that he carried me home to safety. My eyes never opened again until I go into my home. And then at that point, I knew how bad I needed help, but I still wasn't willing to seek it. Or even change because I was so scared that I couldn't do it. And then I was that God. I cast him so much. How was why would he love me or help me? Which means in the next part of my life. Because of the lying and cheating and stealing from stores that drugs had brought into my life, I got caught stealing at Walmart. Which leads me to my child picking me up at the jailhouse. Which as a mother, it will kill you. Which is what led me to drug. I was down in churches. They all judged you. I didn't want to go in one. But my husband had been coming in to Centerpoint. And I had to have a paper sign. I went to the meeting meetings. And I told my husband, I said, I can't get nothing out of those meetings. I said, there's just people there. It wasn't the people, it was me. I was starting on a journey that something I knew nothing about. Before, my life depended on having that drink for the day. Now, my life was going to have to consist of not having that. So I was lost. I didn't know what to do. So my husband had been coming in just to report, and he was begging me to go. And after trying the meetings, they told me I could get my paper signed if I came here. And I thought, well, if nothing else, I'm going to get my paper signed. From the first time I walked through the door, the love and acceptance and the non-judgment that I received, God had been pulling it along. And I knew that I was going to have him in order to get through this. I could not do it anymore. I planned on faking it till I make it, but I can't fake it that well. And I told my husband, I said, take me back. I have to get this tonight because I can't do it anymore on my own. See, God knows the right time, the right people, the right church, the right love that you need. It is God, if you'll just follow it. I thank my loving husband and kids for not giving up on me. See, God put them with special hearts to be able to deal with that. And then turn around and love them and trust them. Because I was afraid that I had these scars from drugs on me, like my mother had. And I would never want that to happen. So I'm here to tell you today that He's a forgiving God. He's a loving God. And He can restore you and redeem you. The peace that I have in my life, the blessings that He's stored in my life, I have never in my life felt before. It is so freeing when you know you don't have to walk anywhere, any place, do anything alone. He is always with you. And when you are struggling, all you have to do is call out to Him. That's freeing because you realize that the rest doesn't really matter. He's got you. I just want to thank Him and my family, His church. For being
imagine how much courage it takes to be able to share like that. Sometimes we do so much how to say this. The power of God to transform your life is so real. It is so real. And it's so strong. And that's one great example of that. But it makes me realize all the times in my ministry, our lives, the life of any church, how we make church so much less than that. It's a place we go to get a check in our box. That we're doing good, I guess. And we totally overlook and miss out on the power of God to do what He does in a person's life. This whole thing is not ever about getting a check in your box. It's never about how hard you can try to do the right thing. It's always about celebrating the power of God to transform your life when you will let Him. And that's what I want to be. That's what I want to be in the middle of. That's what I want to see. That has absolutely nothing to do with my message. I'm going to say it. So good. Ken, thank you so much for sharing that. And any of you who would ever be willing to share your story, either by bar stool or by video, share it. There's some great things that come from it. Don't you love it when somebody pulls right out in front of you like they're in such a big hurry and then they drive 6 miles an hour? And sometimes when they do it, you let yourself go a little further before you ever start hitting the brakes because you want to get good on their tail so they know that you're back there. Just to remind them real good, hey buddy, you just pulled right out in front of me. So you get right up on them. You know what's even better than that is when they pull out in front of you and they're going 6 miles an hour and then in 100 feet they decide to turn right abruptly. And they don't have brake lights, turn signals. Don't they just bless your heart? Wouldn't you be blessed if that happened to you today on your way home? You know what else I like is when you get behind the slowpoke, and I'm sorry for the slowpoke. My life goes way faster than it should, and that's part of it's my problem. When you get behind a slowpoke and they're driving like 25 and 55, and then all of a sudden, when you have a chance to pass them, then they're running 65. I mean, isn't that just, don't that just make you, you ever get in a hurry and other people aren't? Have you ever been in a hurry and God wasn't? Is there a situation you're waiting on to happen in your life and it is not happening in your time? Happens to me every week. With 3 women in our house that I love very much, more than anything in this world. Hearts beating from here, can you see it? And since I'm a man, it takes me all 3.7 seconds to get ready. It takes them longer because they're prettier than me. And there's a question that I'm just dying to always ask, and I know I'm going to get in trouble when I ask it. But sometimes I can't help it, and I have to ask it anyway when I feel like I've been patient enough. Are you ready yet? Can we go? And every time, I know I'm the only person here that ever asked that, right? And as soon as I do, I get the look that I knew I was going to get anyway, and then I feel like a dummy for even asking the question. Do you understand how we set ourselves up for disappointment whenever we think we know how things are supposed to happen? Or when we think we know when they're supposed to happen? You ever have that problem? You think you know how it should happen. I want to share a couple of scriptures with you. The first one is a scripture that some of you may know, to be honest with you. If I'm right, I'd love to get a picture of that for the days over. That'd go well with the sermon, right? Let's read it. For I know the plans I have for you. There's the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. The part of that verse we always hang on to. Preachers always preach it. And when you remember it, it's your favorite part. When he talks about God's plans for your life, how they're to prosper you. How they're not to harm you. We hang on to the hope that God has great plans for your life. He does. Every one of them. Great plans. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. But the part of that I think matters the most, and especially for this morning, is the very first phrase that tells us who has the plans and who knows the plans. This sits in random places in our church. It's a decorative item that my mother or Washington probably bought and put in here. And every time I see this in the church, wherever it's set, and I feel like God is speaking directly to me, it's almost like a reminder that when things in my life are not going to suit me, things are not going exactly like I think they should, it's like God is looking at me. And I can almost hear it. Hey, Tim, I know the plans. I know the plans. Who knows the plans? You can answer that. God knows the plans. He knows the plans. If He knows the plans, what does that mean when we become a people who think we have plans? I want you to know today who has the plans. He has the plans. Look at somebody and say, He has the plans. Come on, He has the plans. He has the plans. One more time. Who has the plans? He has the plans. God has the plans. He knows when He speaks, I know the plans. I know them. He knows them. You don't know them. You may think you do. You may think it should work a certain way or happen at a certain time, but He reminds us, I know the plans. Another scripture I want to share with you also. It's in Acts. And this is actually part of the conversation He's having with some of His disciples, I believe, when they're asking, if he's going to be gone, if He's leaving, if He's left, when is the kingdom going to come? When's He going to come? And He gives them a great piece of advice that I want to share with you today also. He said, it's not for you to know the times or dates the Father has said by His own authority. He also knows the times. He knows the plans, and He knows the time. What plays out in our lives are God's plans at His time. We cause lots of trouble for ourselves, and it's so damaging to our faith whenever we think we have the plans and we know the times, and then we blame God when His plans don't match ours, and when His time is not our time. So I want you to know today, in the most humble, gentle, loving way that I can let you know this, God has the plans, and He knows the times, and we do not. Well, if God has the plans and He wants us to prosper our lives and to give us a hope and a future, why does He make us wait so long? Kim shared a little bit about her life and about what age she was and how far along she was in life before she finally realized who could give her the peace that she'd been looking for. Do you like road construction? If you make your living in road construction, you probably love it. I have never earned my living from road construction, therefore I am not always the biggest fan. Part of that has to do with my inability to wait for anything in my life. I don't wait for stuff, I go get it, right? Sometimes I go get it and God says, put that back, it's not time. He knows the plans. But my least favorite part of road construction is when I am on a time schedule for when I have to be somewhere. And I know it's going to take me 17 minutes to get there from my house. And I've got 20 minutes to get there, which leaves me 3 minutes to spare. And then I run into unforeseen road construction. And I run up on the guy or gal, fluorescent yellow vest, with a big sign that makes me mad the moment I see it. It says stop. My least favorite place to be in line at one of those stop signs during road construction is actually the very first slot. Because I'm looking ahead at the road I can't go to, and most of the time I don't see any reason why I can't just go. You ever do that? You ever sat there so long that you're thinking, wonder what they would do if I just went? There's nothing in my way. If I meet a truck or 18-wheeler or a dump truck or something like that, I'll just go to shoulder the road. But if you've ever sat there long enough, the thought has crossed your mind. One time I had almost decided I was about to hit the gas pedal. I was just going to go for it. I was in a hurry. I guess I was going to play the preacher card if I got pulled over. You know, I had to think about, okay, which hospital is this direction and who was I going to see? I do have a preacher card, by the way, because some of those places have like clergy parking, right? But anyway, I was in the front. I had waited too long, in my opinion, and I thought, there ain't no reason why I can't go. It looks good to me. I'm just going to go. And about the time I got ready to step on the gas pedal, here comes a Euclid over the horizon. Now, if you don't know what a Euclid is, it's Euc for short. Raise your hand if you know what a Euc is. Man, where y'all go to school? No, I'm just kidding. There it is. That's a Euclid. I don't know why they give it the nickname Euc. Why would you make something that big with a shorter name? It should be Euclidean. Euclidarian. You got a V in there somewhere, right? It sounds really impressive. I would have met a Euc. 40 tons-ish, I think, by themselves. Can hold up to 57 tons. 24 feet tall. That means if there was a rim on top, you could not slam dunk it. 51 feet long, some of them. Do you know what would happen to me if I come over the hill, running through the stop sign, wide open, trying to get out of there before I got caught by the police, and met a Euclid head on, carrying a load of rock? Do you know what would have happened to me? I would have been destroyed. Do you know what happens to you when you try to do your plans in your time instead of waiting for God's plans in God's time? You may set yourself up for a disaster. And see, the reality of this whole situation, the flag person, the stop sign guy, he wasn't telling me I couldn't go. He's telling me I couldn't go right now. Do you think we ever get no and not yet? Do you think sometimes when it don't happen like we thought and it don't happen in our time, you think God might be telling us not yet and we think that as a no? We're devastated, right? God don't care about me. If He did, such and such would be happening. Doors would be opening. Things would be happening. You start to question God's call in your life. You start to question your salvation. You start to question the existence of God. Well, if God was real and God loved me, and He would do this. Do you know how arrogant it sounds to think that we can decide for God what He wants to do and when He should do it? Isn't that a little bit like your kid telling you what to do? How does that go in your house? I can tell you how it goes in mine. Not very good. There's another reason that sometimes we have to wait. I told you that Euclid, the Euclidean, the Euc, was carrying a load of rock. You know what that rock was going to do? Fill in part of the new road that was not there yet. Do you think it's possible sometimes that God has you waiting because He's working while you're waiting? That there are things that He's waiting to happen. There are people that He's waiting to come His way. There are situations that He's waiting for them to play out the way His purpose and plans have called for them to play out in His time. God has the plans. He has the times. Do you think sometimes it's not time to go yet? Because He's working while you're waiting. There are things still have to happen before God gives you what you think He should give you. I think there are times that the next step is just not time yet. I read one time, and this is not in the Bible word for word, but it could be. It said, you want to make God laugh? You're just telling your plans. And the reason that's funny now is because we know that who has the plans? He has the plans. He says, I know the plans. I know the plans I have for you. It is not for man to know the timing of those plans. Do you think there's times in your life when taking the next step it's just not time yet? It's just not time yet for God to get a hold of you the way He needs to get a hold of you. It's not time yet for you to put to rest that addiction or to get over that relationship or to give God priority over everything in your life. Do you think that there's times that sometimes you're just not there yet? Share one more scripture with you. It's in Proverbs. I like some Proverbs. So you want to make God laugh, tell Him your plans. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. Do you think it's possible that some things that God has planned for your life are probably worth the wait? You know, when we started this church, we waited 10 years after the last Nazarene church was closed down before they would even give us permission to start it. It's almost like, well, we tried that one time. Yeah, you tried it in your time, right? In your plans. What about God's plan? You ever try to convince somebody what God wants for their life? They're like, how do you know? Some things are worth the wait. Kim's life, Kim's story, everywhere God has delivered her from. Do you think it's worth the wait? Her husband Neil surrendered his life. And the Lord's calling to say, I'll preach the Word of God. I will be a pastor. He waited how many years? I won't ask him how old he is. He's doing ministry right now in another room. You think that's worth the wait? Pastor Jay, who started Providence Point that this church helped to plant. Did you know he was a pastor for like 12 years in another town, the same church? God called him into education and he didn't know if he would ever preach again. God called him from Centerpoint and he came down to be our associate pastor and to plant a church in Edmonton that is growing like crazy. Do you think that's worth the wait? What about some of you that are sitting in here today who have probably been somebody else's prayer? That they would come to church. You know I think it's worth the wait? I think you will. If I went so long, maybe I'd stop with every person in here now. I think when God looks at you, He says the same thing. Sometimes we don't feel that way about ourselves. But I think God does. And I think He looks at you this morning and says, if your time hasn't come yet, you are worth the wait. All this talk about waiting. How do we ever know when it's the right time? few weeks ago, I had a school training at the Bob Kirby Library in Bowling Green. The training was supposed to start at 9 o'clock on Friday. I'm always early, usually prayer. Always early. I just, he taught me, you ever heard the joke, he's not a dog, by the way, so I say this. You ever heard the joke, you throw a rock in a pack of dogs, and the one you hit's the one that yelps, right? I'm always early. So I get there, I'm thinking if the training starts at 9, I see on the doors when I get there, there's people standing outside. I'm like, it's a library, what are they doing, right? They're rolling dice, playing golf, what are they doing out front of the library on Friday morning? Well, I get to the door and I see that the door's open at 9 o'clock. I said, now why would anybody schedule a training for 9 o'clock and the place don't open at 9 o'clock? There ain't no way we can get started at 9 o'clock. You know, that's who I am, impatient. I thought they'll open these doors earlier. They will. Right? You ever stood outside like a store thinking that they'll see me out here? They'll see me out here, they're going to go ahead and open the door. They'll do it. It's just, you know. And then you sit there and the door's not open and you get my head. Are you kidding? Are you serious? What are the good reasons why they have to do that right now? Here I am, sit down here. So we're sitting out there, and there begins to be a greater number of people. It's getting later, 8:30, 8:45, and every few minutes, even though we know they're class doors, we know nobody has tried to open them. You know, we know nobody's been over there to open them. So we walk over just for good measure, just like, I'm still Bob. Come open up. Come see you. And they'll just see me, and I think, yeah, they're going to come open them. You go over 8:50, 8:55. Pretty soon it hits you about 8:58. They ain't going to open them doors till 9 o'clock. Can you believe that? And then you start making government jokes about the government. People work for the government because it's a library. And then you realize that you work for the government too. And then you can't do that anymore. But man, they don't care about nothing. Tired 20 years. And then you work for the government, so you do it. Amen. That's right. That's right. You know when it's the right time? When you find an open door. When you don't have to pry, kick it, beat it down. If you don't have to break in, it just might be the right time to walk through that door. You know how you know when it's God's time? When the doors are open. I don't know everything about all the specific doors in your life. I don't know what specifically you believe that God has called you to, things you think should happen. If you're waiting for people to come around, if you're waiting for jobs to play out, if you're waiting for, I don't know. But I know one door that I believe is always open. I'm about to open the door with this. But I know one door that's always open on this side of the dirt that God leaves open for you all the time. It's the one you walk through to give God His rightful place in your life. It's the door of surrender when you say, God, I'm tired of trying this on my own and I'm ready for you to take control of this thing. I'm ready to admit that you have the plans, that you know the times, that you're tired of trying. It's the door forward in your relationship with Jesus Christ. It's always open. It's open. That's one door that you don't have to wait for. I'd ask you that preacher question, right? The one we ask before we have a good old altar call every week. Is it time to walk with the Lord? But I know the answer to that. Yes, it is. And that don't come from me. That comes from Him. Would you stand with me?